Greetings, dear viewers, and welcome to my fan commentary on Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue Episode 38, Rise of the Super Demons, which is 2 of 4 episodes to conclude the series. Whenever I get around rewatching Lightspeed Rescue, because, recently this time and this week, their 20th anniversary celebration had already coincided. But even past the 20th anniversary date, I want to talk about one of my all-time favorite episodes around near the finale. Because this episode 20 years ago was one of my favorites of Lightspeed Rescue. While there have been some mixed bag, mediocre, and some crummy episodes of the season, episodes like this was one of my favorites. But though my least favorite aspect of the episode and also the finale is the introduction of one more Megazord before the show is over, and we have already moved on the Time Force already. I never really understood why they came up with the Life Force Megazord. I know this was the last Megazord the Go-Go 5 had in the Sentai and around their 50th and last episode. I also like the way how they recreated the the Life Force Megazord cockpit, but the cockpit was, for the US footage was going to be very different from what was done in the Sentai footage for the in the final episode of Go-Go 5. And this was the last episode of Lightspeed Rescue to use Go-Go 5 footage because all the footage from the Sentai at this point has already been used up. So this allowed Saban, Judd Lin, Jonathan Zacher, everybody involved to come up with a complete original ending for Lightspeed Rescue's season, because Go-Go 5's ending, was bittersweet or somewhat satisfactory for Sentai standards, but while I may have been a little passive-aggressive about Lightspeed Rescue's finale, we know that being Fate of Lightspeed, but when you come to think of it, when you combine Wrath of the Queen, which was the first episode before this of the finale arc, building up to the end of the series, when you combine Wrath of the Queen, this, and the Fate of Lightspeed Parts 1 and 2, basically this is more like a 4-part series finale to Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, because if you condense Wrath, Rise, and Fate Parts 1 and 2, you get the Fate of Lightspeed 4-parter, sort of, as I like to dub it. Because if you condense these final 4 episodes together, it's completely a 4-part series finale to Lightspeed Rescue. I don't think anyone else has thought about it until I did, but unless, we get a moment of Diabolico reminiscing about Lokai's destruction because, damn Queen Bashira. I mean, Diabolico's eyes, one shot, his eyes were red. Oh, it's back red now, but in one shot, after the flashback, cutting back to American footage, his eyes was black for a bit. I see Diabolico got that thing on his chest, but it doesn't light up anymore. This was an epic battle between the two villains like no other. It was a common trope with Power Ranger villains, while they all want to take down the Rangers, but then you had certain villains who want to overthrow each other, like certain generals. We saw this before with Ecliptor and Darkonda. Almost saw a lot of it from Deviat and Villamax last season. Diabolico and Olympus in this season. But when you have, Rancic and Frax, that's what I liked it about, with that right there. And Gindrax and Toxica and Master Org next season. It's always been a common trope with Power Ranger villains who have, while they do want to take down the Rangers and take over the universe and stuff, but you have some villains who also have a personal, have personal beef with each other. Especially if they had a long sense of that beef that they been dealing with. And I also like this fight scene with the two in the woods. And even 20 years later, looking back on this episode, the fight choreography is still intense. and it still holds up. But that explosion, though, well, the explosion was chroma keyed, especially with the background of the forest, the trees. Over the course of Lightspeed Rescue, though, the villains weren't as interesting. Well, it seemed like they wouldn't get interesting until like the very end, because it really sucks that, you know, they had potential to be just as good as the last batch of villains from In Space and Lost Galaxy. But the problem was, oh god, the time holes, before we ever would get those later on next season in Time Force. Oh man. And of course it was in Gogo 5 as well, with this, and Gogo 5 Time Ranger with the time, with those black holes, you know, in the sky. Yeah, this was some foreshadowing for Time Force's finale. It seems like Lightspeed Rescue beat the Time Force Rangers in their finale to it. But like I was saying about the villains earlier, like when we had the villains from In Space and Lost Galaxy, you know, they were well fleshed out, you know, well, say for some, for Lost Galaxy, like Captain Mutiny and Scorpius and Furio and them. But when we had those villains, like, they had interesting story arcs, while, you know, as evil. But with Lightspeed Rescue's villains, they just didn't work. I think that what they could have done with Lightspeed's villains, they could have had them as family members like in Gogo 5, but it seemed like the only villain in Lightspeed that's family is Olympus and Queen Banshira. While Diabolico, Loki, Jinxer, and Vipra, they're discounted from being part of it because they were all family in the Sentai, but only two of these villains are, you know, mother and child. And seeing Diabolico with all the black around him, because, you know, what Queen Banshira did to him and brainwashed him to be completely mindless and black-eyed, this would foreshadow what they would do later on with Robo Knight and Vraka's back in Power Rangers Super Mega Force. But, you know, how it was there with Robo Knight, but here in Lightspeed 14 years prior, at the time. I like that this part of the Lightspeed Rescue finale is an improvement over Gogo 5's ending, because I like how they shot completely new material for their finales here, because this is when they were running out of Gogo 5 footage to use. So it makes sense for them to come with, you know, a complete new story for their endgame arc, and also shoot complete new material. I wanted to talk about the mega battles that Chad and Joel had, but I didn't want to do a fan commentary on it because I don't have time for it this year in 2020 at the time of this recording. Yeah, it sucks for those mega battles, but they will reuse them again in Lightspeed's crossover with the Time Force Rangers next season. But these mega battles that Chad and Joel had, well, as they're getting destroyed and wrecked, well, they were lifted also from their toy line, like how I brought up about, you know, Eric's mega battle in my Quantum Secrets fan commentary last time. And the Trans Armor cycle, well, one of the few things I did like about that cycle that Carter had, I like that it's both the Battleizer and the cycle, but I just didn't really like the outlook of the, you know, of the cycle being the Battleizer parts. And I remember having the Trans Armor cycle as a toy once, you know, as for Christmas when I was a kid, back when Lightspeed Rescue was on 20 years ago and was over. Problem is with Queen Banshira, like, I tried to give her a chance, I tried to like her, but like I've said before, time and time again with female villains in Power Rangers. Well, Viper is gone for the rest of Lightspeed until the Time Force team up, and then she's gone forever. But when it came to these female villains, again, I said that any of the female villains past Trakina in Power Rangers, starting with this season, going forward all the way to, like, let's say, Dino Charge, Ninja Steel Beast Morphers with their female villains. I tried to like the female villains between Vipra through Madame Odious and Roxy after Trakina. So it was very hard for me to like any of the lady villains past her in later series. So it seemed like they gave more of the villains that are, people, my characters, my gender, like Diabolico, and then more screen time and more development. And Diabolico's physical form is, killed, but when he becomes that super demon form, when we get to it, and that will be the last time we'll see him physically on the show. Yeah, I understand the girls don't get battleizers because, again, sexism in Power Rangers, that the girls don't get battleizers. Last time we'll see Olympus in physical form, his original physical form. But when he's super demon form, he looks like that dragon from a Yu-Gi-Oh card. We'll get to that. We're already getting to that right now. If you're watching this, watching the episode on DVD or on Netflix, if you're listening to my commentary for it. See, right there, with Olympus's dragon form, it just feels unorthodox from his actual form, but I guess that's why they called this episode Rise of the Super Demons. There's some original footage of Super Demon Diabolico blasting at the Rangers. I like that this was an all-out Megazord battle between Diabolico and Olympus and the Rangers and the Zords. But it's really Carter, Joel, and Chad using the Megazords while Kelsey and Dana have to go inside a hangar bay to get the Life Force Megazord, because this was, again, lifted from Gogo 5's finale, but they had to do something completely different, because in Gogo 5, again, the Gogo 5, it was common. If you haven't watched the Sentai of Lightspeed Rescue yet, if you have, great, but if you have, for those who haven't, spoiler alert, this was around a point in the Sentai when, again, if you should know, Gogo 5, the Rangers were siblings, and it was all about them reuniting with their mother. So in this version, it's just battle Diabolico and Olympus, and that, because Lightspeed Rescue's ending was going to be completely different from Gogo 5's, because this was their footage from their final episode. And I hated how I know when we get to the, one of the traditional things about when you get to the end of each Power Ranger series, you have to, sacrifice everything you got to put an end to what they've been going through all year long. Because one of the things that I miss in seasons like Power Rangers, like in something like in Lightspeed Rescue's case, when I look back on the Power Rangers that we got now, on I hate to keep harking on this, but whenever I watch seasons like Lightspeed Rescue in retrospect, and when I watch their finale episodes, the Lightspeed cycles, again, it still pains me about Yellow not having a cycle in the toys. Anyway, when we have finales for Power Rangers, like today versus the Power Rangers in the finales of the past. When I look back on their finales, they raise the stakes, and they have to sacrifice everything they had over the course of the whole year. All their Megazords, all their weapons, all their battleizers, all their power-ups, in order to put an end to the evil they've been facing the whole season. Problem is, when I look at the finales for Samurai Megaforce, Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, I haven't seen Beast Morphers yet, in its ending yet, but when I watch the finales for seasons like, again, Lightspeed Rescue, they really raise the stakes. Seeing stuff like this, seeing the Omega Megazord and the Super Train getting trashed, and especially the Lightspeed Solar Zord, which is the Max Solar Zord and the Lightspeed Megazord both getting trashed and wrecked. Oh, that was brutal. Chad getting knocked out. But and even seeing Queen Banshira at her ruthless here. I don't mean like, again, Queen Banshira is no Trakina, but the thing was, when Queen Banshira controlled the two, and yeah, every time I see this, it already gives me grim reminders when Tankenstein blew up the Mega Voyager. Damn it. It's just like, this is what I call raising the stakes at the end of a Power Rangers season. And it's like, wasn't it so hard for the Neo Saban seasons to do something like, well, I understand times have changed, but whenever I watch their season finales, especially like, again, if you see heard my fan commentary for Legendary Battle, how, it was lacking tension and dread for the Rangers and the Armada and how that went. That's probably why, it's just Power Rangers in their finales today are just too safe and too soft. And when they do get to the end of their seasons, it feels like they're not being dramatic enough. They got to play it too safe and too soft. Whereas this is why I liked the Power Rangers I liked growing up like this, where when we get to the end of a season, this is when, okay, we have to go all out and take down the enemies they faced over the year. That shot of the Lightspeed Solar Zords ahead is already giving me reminders of when the Mega Voyager was blown up. This moment with Carter when he stands up in front of a monster, even without his Megazord, Carter knows how to be a true badass when taking down two monsters that are infinite times bigger than his own size, and then he gets knocked over. That's true bravery, and that's how a true Red Ranger does it. In your face, Troy! Just whenever I see Olympus's, again, every time I look at Olympus's super form, he just looks like I wouldn't say a Digimon, but I did say he looked like something out of a Yu-Gi-Oh card earlier. A monster out of a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I really need to talk about the Life Force Megazord, guys. I really have to talk about it. Now that the Life Force Megazord is into the episode 17 minutes in, and we're almost over with the episode in the commentary, but I remember when this Life Force Megazord thing showed up. I know this is the last Megazord that the Go-Go 5 had in the Sentai, but it's just a black and gold repaint of the Life Force, Lightspeed Solar Zord, sorry. The Lightspeed Solar Zord. And for some reason, if this was on the show for the last few episodes, I guess it made sense why Bandai America never did like a premium limited edition black and gold Lightspeed Solar Zord toy. Because, well, if it's only in 3 episodes, the final 3 episodes of Lightspeed, I guess, well, it wouldn't sell. And also, it would be hard and difficult to get this thing. So all you have to do, well, I would recommend anyone who collects vintage Power Ranger stuff on eBay or so, if you like collecting old stuff and new stuff. For anyone who wants to collect any of the Lightspeed Rescue Zords off of eBay as collectibles and stuff for your collection, if you want to make if you want to make a Life Force Megazord, I would recommend just make a custom black and gold. Just buy a complete Lightspeed Megazord and Max Solar Zord, customize the Zords, and there you go. There's a custom Lightspeed Life Force Megazord. And in the Sentai footage, Jinxer, Olympus, and Diabolico did die in the Sentai, and so did Queen Banshira in the Sentai. But at least the American footage, the American show decided to give Queen Banshira and Jinxer an extra life going into the last 2 episodes. And that Egyptian dialect of Queen Banshira's image looks like a demon Egyptian dialect of Rita a little bit when you think about it. This episode was very intense because this was one of the factors why I always liked this episode and one of my top few episodes of Lightspeed Rescue. And going to the finale, this opened a gate of how the series was going to conclude and close because, well, since they had a bigger budget for their finale, like, again, Lost Galaxy's finale and also In Space's finale, while I may not like Lightspeed Rescue's final 2 episodes, it's okay. I mean, I still prefer Countdown to Destruction and Journey's End over Fate of Lightspeed. But seeing the Lightspeed Aqua base getting trashed and destroyed and rampaged by batlings and stuff, I mean, it is a crucial cathartic finale for Power Rangers, especially for 20 years ago. So that's it for my fan commentary on Rise of the Super Demons. I would love to do a commentary on the finale, but maybe another day.